Uh, so I think the biggest revelation of this series has definitely got to be the arrival of Axar Patel. 20 plus wickets in a debut series, just playing three test matches, filling in the big boots of Ravindra Jadeja. How do you think Axar Patel has taken that role up? And are you like very happy that we now have at least competition for Jadeja and Ashwin in the line?
I don't necessarily think that it's a competition for the places of Jadeja and Ashwin, but they're definitely very good backups, both Akshar Patel and Washington Sundar. Washington Sundar definitely has to work on his bowling, and Akshar probably has to work on his batting. But one thing I want to add, I think Akshar has taken 26 or 27 wickets in this series in three test matches, at an average of 10 runs and a strike rate of 28. What one thing that it puts in perspective, and this is not related to the series, but some might say that I'm being nostalgic, or indulging in nostalgia, but it puts in perspective the performance of Harbhajan Singh in 2001 against Australia, in India, because he took 32 wickets in three tests against a much better Australian lineup, who had players like Matthew Hayden, Justin Langer, Michael Slater, Ricky Ponting, Steve Waugh, Adam Gilchrist, all of them who could play spin. So it also puts some perspective to performance that we saw 20 years ago. And I think it is fair to say, after looking at how Akshar performed in this series, albeit against a lineup which was poor against spin, that why Harbhajan Singh's performance in 2001 was one of the all-time great performances in Test cricket. Coming back to Akshar and Washington, I have also another thing to add, that both of them have outbowled. Akshar outbowled, and Washington Sundar outbatted Kuldeep Yadav out of the squad for the next home test series. And it may not be the worst thing to happen to Kuldeep, because that way he will get some game time and he'll be able to work on his fitness, and consequently probably increase his pace, and work a little more on his skill for test match and first class cricket, because that is something he really needs to do. Because if he's going to stay around this Indian team, I doubt he will get a lot of games, especially when India go abroad. Because whenever India go abroad, the focus is also on elongating the batting depth, and Kuldeep really doesn't bat, and our pacers also don't bat a lot. So Kuldeep will more or less always focus on batting. That is one thing that has happened, and it may not be the worst thing to happen to Kuldeep. Apart from Akshar Patel, if I were to pick my four positives for India, in a particular order, the number one positive for India would be Rohit Sharma, the opener. The number two positive would be Rishabh Pant, the keeper. Number three positive would be Akshar Patel, the bowler, and number four would be Washington Sundar, the batsman. I think India would be really, really happy with the performances of these four players. I am not specifically saying Rishabh Pant, the batsman, because we have already seen what he's capable of. There were a lot of doubts about how he's going to keep, etc. Will he be able to keep to spin? This is something which we had discussed in the preview. If our viewers could go back and discuss, and we had mentioned that at home, the Indian bowlers are going to create enough chances for to make sure that one odd drop or one odd stumping chance, miss stumping, doesn't create that much of an effect. And as the series progressed, especially the last two test matches, the way Rishabh Pant has kept, it shows that he's improved leaps and bounds. The stumping that he did today of Oli Pope was brilliant to see.
Yeah, as you pointed out, Gurkesh, I also saw a tweet from you like a couple of days back in which you had actually told the same thing, that what Axar Patel and Washington Sundar have done with the bat and ball is they virtually played Kuldeep on the side. And the other factor that you did mention in that tweet was that Kuldeep Yadav actually playing the Ranji Trophy might actually help him get the confidence back, and maybe he'll come out being a better bowler. Because as you pointed out, at the moment, I think the fact that he just bowled like what 5 6 overs in that Chennai test, and he was brought into that second test in Chennai when the second innings was pretty much over. So that kind of shows that there is something that's bothering Kuldeep Yadav at the moment, and I think he'll definitely do well if he just has some time away from the test side.
Just to add a little bit on that, people said that maybe Virat Kohli could have given him the ball earlier in that test match and given him confidence. But what people don't understand is that with this SG ball, when it goes soft, it becomes very difficult to grip and very difficult to turn. So I think Virat Kohli was completely justified in bowling Akshar and Ashwin as long as he could to take out as many wickets as he could. Because if you had a situation where a partnership has started building and it has gone beyond say the 40th or the 50th over mark, it would have been very difficult to get those two batsmen out, whosoever they may be, because the ball doesn't do enough. And we saw that in the partnership of Ashwin and Kohli also in that test match. So I think it was very justified. The issue, I don't think there is any particular issue with Kuldeep as apart from the pace which he bowls at, because if the pitches are not going to have enough pace or enough bite of the surface, teams will be able to play him off the back foot or off the pitch, because of the pace he bowls at. We saw in Chennai what was the speed at which they bowled. Kuldeep was in 70s to 80s, Ashwin was in 80s to 90s, and Akshar was above 90s. Even touching 94, 95
Yeah,
kmph, and that is something which Joe Root also replicated very well when in the third Test match, and also here, which allowed him to get that more control. And I think as the game develops, we'll see that spinners will have to work on their pace, because Dom Bess also struggled for a reason on this surface, because he kept trying to flight the ball. While flighting is important, and it is a very good skill and an art to beat the batsman in the air and in the loop. But in test matches, you need that pace, because the batsmen are not really looking to come down the track and attack you. They're more in the mindset to play you from the crease and negotiate you after the ball is turning. Beating the batsman in the air is a very good skill to have in limited overs, but in test matches and in first class cricket, it is not going to be enough to just cut it.